Hi guys, this is Startup Behind the Scenes podcast, and today we're going to talk about different ways you can get scammed. If you try to ask ChatGPT about software scamming, they're going to talk to you about deceptive or fraudulent practices involving software, and they all going to be turned around how some software providers will try to scam you for money, right? But I'm going to talk about another scam, which you will come across eventually. I promise no one is immune. It's when you're going to start working with outsourcing companies, subcontractors, or maybe even partners who basically will not do what they said they will do, will not feel accountable for results, and will just try to um, lie to you about where they are. And that is a scamming. It is a scamming, regardless of the way it's described in illegal texts, right? But someone who is telling you that they do something and they're not doing it, they either stealing or scamming you. And scamming is stealing, obviously. Yeah. So it's very important. It may be your friend, it may be a company you work with for some time, but you need to understand that when you pay someone for the service, they have to deliver. And I'm going to talk about my personal experience where I was doomed because I was maybe too kind or too naive or too stupid, or maybe I didn't understand the intentions of those people. But I think it's worth sharing so that that doesn't happen to you. So I will describe three types of scamming. The first is when your subcontractor or your partner doesn't take accountability for results, right? It's just basically a payment black hole. You're just gonna pay, and the result's not gonna be there, and it's gonna be always someone else's fault. And ultimately, something will happen, but budget will triple, right? So that's not something I would say should be called a good working relationship. Second is lack of skill. You should be really, really careful because in IT, especially in technical jobs, people basically assume they can do anything. You say, "Oh, I want to do Power BI," for example. And they say, "Sure, we can do Power BI," but you will be so naive and you will not ask, "Can you show me who will do it?" You will not know what questions to ask because you are not maybe expert yourself. You're not going to be able to interview the developers. And ultimately, they may just give you the same developer who was doing the other part of the project, who will just learn about how Power BI work. And result will be quite bad because it's not his core competence and he just learned it basically. You paid him to learn, or her. And that, in my opinion, is scamming or unethical practices, and you should avoid collaborating with such people. And the third type is lack of respect towards funding, right? There are a type of people in software world that just very good at getting good pitches, getting out the good with good people, having all this money, but for free, if you like. But when it comes to your money, and maybe I don't know, maybe it's your savings, maybe it's your mom's money, maybe it's your love money that someone gave you. Love money, right? Is someone really believes in your project. And if you work with scammers, believe me, nothing will happen. You're just going to spend your 200K or 300K, and that's going to be on you ultimately. And you'll be part of this failed startup ecosystem, if you like. Right. So let's start with first one then. No accountability for results. So ideally, you want to find partners that take some accountability for results, right? In general, it takes longer to negotiate with them. It's not the guys who said, yeah, I can do it all. I can do it all. It's $50 per hour, 100, whatever. Doesn't matter. Depends on the country, right? But it's guys who will ask a lot of questions. They will be kind of anal about the requirements. They will maybe piss you off, and you're like, Jesus, just do it. But no, those are the guys you want, because if you have a proper requirement, proper documentation, sorry, it's part of your contract. And don't think if you're small and you're just one person or two person that you don't need a contract. Be as precise as you can, because when things go wrong, it's all going to be on you. You're not going to be bringing them to court, and they're just going to be do whatever they think they were supposed to be doing, and hopefully they will be protecting themselves as well on the other side. And if someone is too detailed, too boring at the beginning and asking you for too many questions, that's probably a people. Because I worked a lot of times with people who actually just said yes to everything. now, as an experienced person in startups, I'm asking how on earth someone could give me 25K quote for the software that literally had no requirement. It had 3 lines, no, I mean, the requirement. It had 3 lines, 2 slides, some pictures, and basically no user stories, no use cases, some broad assumptions about how it's going to look. And they said, oh, 25K. You know how much it ended up costing? 250Ks. And that's it. And the guys were fine with this. That's great, because how you just start, right? You just start, money will flow. And you're a bit naive, you're in the game. And the thing is that when you are in this type of relationship, you also don't see it, because you may be already talking to potential users, right? To potential investors. And you kind of stuck with these guys until you realize, like, either it becomes too expensive, they don't deliver, you just can see something is wrong, right? And that's what I think should be the red flag, right? The red flag is when costs are double or triple, and your potential business partner, big third party service provider, is your business partner as well, right? Even though there is no partnership agreement, but they supply a service, right? If you see that it's okay for them, right? So it's part of the ethics. They don't renegotiate. They don't say they're trying to help you, because clearly they see maybe you don't have the right team, right? Maybe you don't have right product owner. Maybe you don't have right analyst. All they want is so you to pay for them, right? And that's it. And although you may have results with them, and it's definitely possible that they have good technicians in the company, it's just the overall ethics I would like to challenge and suggest you avoid those guys who just really, like Cowboy says, yeah, 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 and ultimately you see that they don't stick to the promises. Because, for example, today I choose outsourcing companies differently, and I can assure you that even in France, where labor is quite expensive, the companies that have big value, they stick to what they promise, right? So if you say that it's going to be X, they're not just going to tell me end of the month it's going to triple or quadruple, because contract is a contract. We respect that. And if we feel like your subcontractors can discover something, right? They can discover an issue, technical issue, right, that you weren't prepared for. They should come to you and say, look, we did as per the project, but this requires, I don't know, double or maybe 50% more of the fee, and it should be negotiation. It should not be imposed on you. So yeah, avoid those work for hire contracts, and avoid time for money, whatever they call now. That's not really important. There are different ways to call it, but try to always engage with someone who is ready to deliver what they promised, and also share the increased cost if it's possible, because everyone needs to make money in the business. That's so normal. I'm not trying to tell you just squeeze everything out of them, but just be aware of that. Secondly, lack of skill. In the beginning, I told you that this is the biggest trap, and I think it's absolutely impossible to evaluate. Really, it's really so difficult, because you hire people because you don't have skill or you don't have time, right? So I, for example, come from an analytical background. It's relatively easy for me to see if someone is good or not good at doing something. But again, like this, my Power BI story, even though I was understanding what's needed to be done, technically I didn't know how much time it should take, for instance, to structure the database and things like that, because I never did it myself. So yeah, and when I realized that it just took the mediocre results we got with one agency, really was with the same, sorry, with 1/4 of the money, it was 10 times better with someone really skilled. That's what's really sad. But again, they didn't know that, they only know what you know. So you can't blame them, and it's on you. So this is sort of a great area scam. It's for me a little bit less, it's less alarming than the first one, like lack of accountability, because lack of accountability, it's really about someone's ethics, right? It's the way they work. There's cowboys, they don't care. They're gonna make a lot of money without you, right? Don't worry about them. You just go somewhere else. You go with someone more honest, more responsible. But lack of skill is different because sometimes you will be, for example, working with web developers who want to go and develop Shopify, right? They didn't never did that before, but they say, "Oh, I'll try." But if they try with you, they shouldn't charge you full fee, right? Same as some designers, they if they try new methodology or go on the course, they shouldn't charge you new fee. You should be like a free sample for them, right? And then that's really important. Another story I can tell you, and that's probably the hot topic, is all the AI guys. Everyone is AI, everything. And please, please, please remember that for the good developer to be good with AI, he needs to be, at the moment AI came to his hands, at least middle. Junior developer with AI will just think he's just so good, but he doesn't have enough experience in software building and the architecture. How does it work? He needs this experience before even telling you he's good at anything. So yeah, the junior guys pretending they're architects or senior guys because they have Claude and Claude knows how to code, just don't believe this, right? And I know agents is charged for that as well already, and this is really sad. So how do you then do this skill gaps? I think you should surround yourself by people that have the skill. I know I'll explain what I mean. It maybe not doesn't sound very obvious, but look, I'm not a software developer, but I have several software startups, right? Once I realized that software is about a product and a technical, ultimately it's technical, right? There's a need of market. So I'm good at product management, right? I'm good CPO. So I go, I understand what users need, but technical is key. If it doesn't have right architecture, we're not going to be able to estimate how we run this thing, the associated cost. So when you go to the investors, your thing is just like an idea. Okay, that's fine. But I always think that because I am not a technical, I always need someone really technical in my network. Doesn't have to be full time, can be a friend, a grandpa's friend, doesn't matter. Someone you can trust so he can at least interview people you hire. You pay them or not, that doesn't matter. But you should have that person. If you're technical, get a good product person, you know? The same goes then what else about software? It's also about sales and marketing. I'm not good at sales and marketing at all. I'm very probably good at like contract signing and management. It's like after sales if you like, but everything requiring prospecting and stuff like that, I'm not good at. So no, I didn't outsource this. I went to my friends who helped me to set up the ecosystem where I can work it out basically. But if I would just go to an agency without having this skill, I assure you I would pay 20K without having the results I want. Today, I pay basically someone on a monthly basis the money I can afford, and the person really helps me with all my sales and marketing efforts. At the moment, it's more than enough, and that's perfect. So, I only did that because I was scammed so many times. So I just decided to stick to my money at some point from when I started to do multiple softwares a year instead of one. And you should be really aware of that. So just really the advice, consult someone who is good and just stay in touch with them, right? And you'll see people are happy to share their experience. They are absolutely happy when you come and ask for their expertise. And who knows, maybe they will bring you a person to your team. Maybe they know someone who is good at this and you can just outsource. I found, for example, fantastic designer. This is just the daughter of another co-founder. How do I know she is fantastic? Is because I worked with so many designers and I know who is delivering quickly, has a good process, who understands you. That's a person with the skill. The person without skill is the person who will pollute your head with questions that are not relevant, right? Um, Too many questions is good, but they have to be relevant. That's what I said to you in the first point. If they're irrelevant, it kind of come for someone for the branding and they say, oh, but your name is bad, for example. I said, no, my name is fine. I keep my name. I want a branding. I'll give you everything. But they said, oh, but animation is not good way it's not good. I said, no, I want animation for this brand. That's how I want to do it. And they just basically try to deviate you from where you're going. This is clearly because they don't know how to do that. And they just trying to tell you, oh, do the way I can do it. and just pay me the rates I want. And that's also basically a red flag as well. And don't get scammed by those type of people. And the third one, I think, it's super critical that you understand. And maybe it happens to you that you will also get all this funding, right? You may be working in university, and maybe 300Ks, 500Ks would just come between your hands quickly. So things to avoid is that don't just treat it as it's a free money. Think if it's like your grandma's money, really. Really think that. And when you pay someone, you want to make sure that they understand, right? So that they are aligned with market prices. Because there are just guys who will tell you, who will think about you. Oh, this dude got 300,000 from university or whatever, 5, 6, 7, 1 million, maybe you have a rich uncle. And you maybe don't know what to do. You're young, you never did it before, and you're just trying to do your best, right? So what they say, oh, they will just double tariffs. They, for example, the market rate for a developer, I know maybe is depending on the country, right? Maybe 60, maybe $120. They will just charge you 150, right? They will not be accountable for the results. And at the moment, you everything will sound great because they said, "Oh, we already did this and that," but you're not going to be able to evaluate if they have a skill for your project. You're not going to be understanding how much accountability they will be able to take unless you have very good contract with them. And secondly, they might tell you, okay, so it's, I don't know, you pay us 10K a month and we do that, but they maybe have 3 projects in parallel, right? So those are people that really do not it's not like they don't respect. They're used to free money, I call it. It's a little bit like those guys founded by, I don't know, very rich oligarchs, and maybe someone just doesn't have same level of aspirations in terms of how money shall be spent, right? This is very important. So I hope it was clear. I guess what I tried to communicate here was that you need to be vigilant if you want to succeed. And I think this ratio we use, that 9 startups out of 10 are a failure, is also because some of those issues I just discussed, right? Because if you are scammed by people you work with, if you can't trust them, if no one can really say, okay, you pay me later, okay, you pay me when you get the money, or they say, look, I'm too expensive for you, you know, or look, my target audience, my target segment for my agency is, let's say, large companies. You are small, you only have 50K budget. There is nothing I can do for you. This is really nice. And I respect so much. I recently came across a guy who literally, I told him about my budget for the website, and he said, look, find a freelancer. He said, just don't do it, come to my agency where you're bigger, and we'll do some great things. But yeah, his minimum fee for 4 months were much higher than what I could afford. And even if he would give me some discount because it's a small project, there is no point, right? And I respect it so much. This is the guy with respect. This is the guy I will recommend to all my contacts, and I do it all the time, even though I didn't directly work with him. And trust me, there is as much good business owners as much there's bad ones, and it's up to you um, to evaluate that and to make your good choices. I hope you enjoyed it, and speak to you in a week. Bye.